Stop scrolling. This is not another message for your mind to analyze, argue with, or postpone. This is a warning for the part of you that already knows. There is a point inside you where fear cannot survive, where time loses its grip, where the noise of the world becomes powerless, and where the energy you have been calling God is no longer something distant above you. It is alive within you. Sophia called this the divine 0 point, the silent center beneath every thought, every wound, every identity, and every version of you that was built just to survive. And if these words found you now, it may be because you are reaching the edge of the old mind. The pressure you have felt is not always punishment. The confusion is not always failure. The emptiness is not always loss. Sometimes your inner world begins collapsing because the false structure can no longer hold the truth that is trying to enter. But listen carefully, because most people turn back at this exact moment. They run toward distraction. They feed the fear. They return to the same habits, the same conversations, the same pain, because the familiar prison feels safer than the unknown doorway. Do not make that mistake. The doorway is already open. The 0 point is calling you out of the mental storm and into the field where your deepest power has been waiting. Your mind will tell you this is imagination. Your fear will tell you that nothing is changing. Your past will show you evidence that you are still the same person. But the mind only understands what has already happened. It cannot lead you into what has never been experienced. It can only repeat, compare, defend, and predict. That is why Sophia did not tell the seeker to think harder. She told the seeker to become still enough to hear what thought had been covering. The most dangerous illusion is not that you are powerless. The most dangerous illusion is that your thoughts are you. They are not. They are movements passing through awareness. They are echoes. They are old commands. They are unfinished emotional reactions, wearing the voice of truth. You have spent years obeying them without asking who placed them there. You believed the thought that said you were late. You believed the thought that said you were unworthy. You believed the thought that said God had forgotten you. You believed the thought that said you had to struggle, prove, chase, beg, and break yourself before life would finally open. But the divine 0 point does not ask you to prove anything. It asks you to stop feeding what is false. There is a reason you have felt tired, even after resting. There is a reason success sometimes feels empty. Relationships feel distant, and familiar goals no longer excite you. Your soul is not asking for more noise. It is asking for return. It is asking you to come back to the place inside where you existed before the world told you who to be. That place is not weakness. It is not escape. It is the source from which courage is born. Every time you enter it, the artificial self loses control. The mask begins to crack. The old emotional addictions lose their flavor. The need for validation weakens. The fear of being misunderstood becomes smaller, and the life force that was trapped inside constant thinking begins to rise. Do not watch this passively. Make a decision now. Subscribe, press like, and comment the single word, enter. If you are ready to move beyond the mind and return to the divine 0 point within, do not write a sentence. Write only enter. Let it become your declaration that the old mental prison no longer has permission to rule your life. Now breathe, without trying to perform spirituality. Do not force peace. Do not pretend to be healed. Do not chase a mystical feeling. Simply notice that beneath the words, beneath the screen, beneath the activity around you, there is something in you that is already watching. It was watching when you were a child. It was watching during your happiest moments. It was watching through betrayal, loneliness, humiliation, and uncertainty. Your body changed. Your beliefs changed. Your dreams changed. Your relationships changed. Yet the silent witness remained. Sophia taught that this witness is the gate, not because it belongs to the ego, but because it is the first place where the ego can no longer pretend to be the center of existence. The mind lives through division. It says this is good, and that is bad. This is success, and that is failure. This person is safe, and that person is dangerous. This memory proves you are worthy, and that memory proves you are broken. The mind survives by cutting reality into pieces, and then forcing you to choose which piece to fear. But the divine 0 point exists before division. It is the stillness before judgment. It is the open space before the label. It is the moment before the old identity rushes in and tells you how to react. In that space, you are no longer controlled by the first thought. You can see it. You can feel the emotional charge behind it. You can recognize the pattern. And because you can see it, you are no longer trapped inside it. This is where the transformation becomes real. Not when you repeat beautiful words while secretly feeding the same fear. Not when you collect spiritual ideas and use them to decorate an unchanged life. Not when you imagine light, but refuse to face your shadow. Transformation begins when you can sit inside the moment without escaping into the story. The body may tighten. The heart may race. A memory may rise. The old voice may whisper that you are unsafe. Stay. Do not attack the feeling. Do not worship it. Do not turn it into your identity. Let it move through the field of awareness. The feeling is energy. The story is what imprisons it. When the story is removed, the energy can complete its movement. Think of the last time someone rejected you, ignored you, doubted you, or made you feel small. The pain was real. But what happened next? The mind built a courtroom. It gathered evidence. It replayed the scene. It invented future scenes. It created imaginary conversations. It turned one wound into a permanent identity. I am not enough. People always leave. Nothing works for me. I will never be seen. The event may have lasted minutes, but the mental repetition lasted months or years. This is how the mind steals life. It uses memory to keep the nervous system trapped in a moment that no longer exists. The divine 0 point breaks this cycle because it returns you to what is here before the story begins again. You do not enter the 0 point by destroying the mind. The mind is a tool. It becomes a prison only when the servant declares itself king. You need thought to plan, communicate, create, and protect. But you do not need thought to tell you whether your existence has value. You do not need thought to measure whether God is near. You do not need thought to decide whether your soul deserves peace. Those questions were born from separation, and separation is the oldest wound. Sophia's wisdom was dangerous to systems built on fear, because a person who finds the center within becomes difficult to control. They no longer react to every provocation. They no longer need every stranger to approve of them. They no longer purchase identity from the world. They can walk away from manipulation because silence has taught them the difference between truth and emotional pressure. They can love without begging. They can forgive without returning to abuse. They can be alone without feeling abandoned. They can act without waiting for perfect certainty. This does not make them cold. It makes them clear. Clarity is one of the first signs that you are approaching the 0 point. You begin seeing where you have been betraying yourself. You see the habits that drain you. You see the relationships built on performance. You see the goals you pursued only because you were afraid of being ordinary. You see how often you said yes while your whole body was saying no. This seeing can hurt. Do not run from it. The pain of truth is temporary. The pain of self-betrayal repeats until you listen. The second sign is silence, becoming less frightening. At first, silence may feel empty because you have used stimulation to avoid meeting yourself. You reach for the phone. You search for another video. You check messages. You look for conflict, entertainment, advice, anything that prevents you from hearing the tension underneath. But if you remain still, the emptiness changes. It becomes spacious. Then something subtle appears. A sense that you are not alone inside yourself, not because an external voice is speaking, but because presence itself begins to feel intelligent. You realize that stillness is not absence. It is the field from which everything arises. The third sign is that your old triggers begin losing speed. They may still appear, but there is a gap between the trigger and your reaction. That gap is sacred. That gap is where destiny changes. Before, one message could ruin your entire day. One criticism could collapse your confidence. One delay could convince you that life was against you. Now you begin to witness the surge before obeying it. You feel the heat. You hear the thought. You notice the impulse. And instead of immediately becoming it, you breathe. In that single breath, the old future is interrupted. This is not fantasy. This is discipline. At the level of consciousness, it is the willingness to remain present. When the conditioned self demands escape, anyone can speak about peace when life is comfortable. The real initiation begins when your peace is challenged, when the person you trusted disappoints you, when money becomes uncertain, when the plan fails, when your body is exhausted, when nobody understands what is happening inside you. In those moments, the mind shouts, "Control everything now." The 0 point whispers, "Return before you act. Return before you speak. Return before you send the message. Return before you make the decision that fear is demanding from you." The old mind wants speed because speed prevents awareness. It wants you to react before you can see the pattern. It wants you to believe urgency is always truth. But not every urgent feeling is guidance. Sometimes, urgency is only an old wound trying to protect itself from being felt. This is why the divine 0 point is not passive. It is the most powerful position you can occupy, because it allows you to act without being controlled by emotional noise. When you return to the center, you are not avoiding reality. You are meeting reality without the distortion of panic. You are refusing to let yesterday choose what you do today. You are stepping out of automatic survival and back into conscious creation. Most people think their life changes when the outside changes. They wait for more money, better relationships, perfect health, recognition, security, or some undeniable sign from God. They say, "When life becomes safe, I will become peaceful." But Sophia revealed the opposite. Life begins reorganizing when you stop demanding that the world become calm before you enter calm. The center must come first. The inner decision must come first. The frequency of your response must change before the pattern around you can fully change. This does not mean you control every event. It means every event no longer controls you. There is a difference. You may not control who leaves, what fails, what is delayed, or what unexpected door closes, but you can decide whether the event becomes a prison or an initiation. You can decide whether pain becomes proof that you are cursed or evidence that an old structure is ending. You can decide whether rejection destroys your value or redirects your energy. You can decide whether uncertainty makes you betray yourself or teaches you to listen more deeply. That decision is made at the 0 point, before the mind builds its prison. Picture your mind as a room filled with thousands of voices. Some belong to your parents. Some belong to teachers. Some belong to people who criticized you. Some belong to culture, religion, social pressure, past lovers, old friends, and moments of failure. They speak through your thoughts, but they are not always your truth. They say you must hurry. They say you are behind. They say your worth depends on achievement. They say love must be earned. They say rest is weakness. They say being misunderstood means you are wrong. They say you need permission to become who you already feel yourself becoming. The divine 0 point is the moment you stop answering every voice. You stand in the center of the room and listen without surrendering. Then, one by one, the borrowed voices lose authority. What remains is quieter, but it is cleaner. It does not threaten you. It does not flatter your ego. It does not speak through panic. It arrives as a simple knowing. Call this intuition, inner wisdom, conscience, presence, or the energy of God. The name matters less than the quality. True inner guidance does not need to humiliate you into action. It does not tell you that you are worthless unless you obey. It does not make you feel spiritually superior to others. It does not feed obsession. It brings clarity, responsibility, humility, and strength. It may ask you to do something difficult, but it does not make you smaller. It may ask you to wait, but the waiting feels conscious, not helpless. It may ask you to leave, but the leaving feels clean, not cruel. It may ask you to speak, but the words come without the poison of revenge. This is how you begin distinguishing divine presence from emotional impulse. The ego wants to be dramatic. Presence wants to be true. The ego wants to win. Presence wants to align. The ego wants to be seen as powerful. Presence is powerful, even when nobody is watching. This is why your most important spiritual work may happen in ordinary moments. Not on a mountain, not inside a temple, not during a perfect meditation. It may happen in your kitchen at midnight when anxiety rises and you choose not to abandon yourself. It may happen in your car when anger surges and you decide not to speak from the wound. It may happen when you look at your bank account and refuse to let fear become your identity. It may happen when you are tempted to contact someone who repeatedly disrespected you, and you choose dignity over temporary comfort. It may happen when nobody applauds you, yet you continue building the life your soul has been asking for. The 0 point is not somewhere else. It is hidden inside these decisions. Every time you refuse to repeat an unconscious pattern, you enter it. Every time you stay present with discomfort, instead of escaping into destruction, you enter it. Every time you choose truth over performance, you enter it. Every time you stop begging the wrong people to recognize your value, you enter it. Every time you forgive yourself for not knowing what you know now, you enter it. But there is another gate you must pass through, and many seekers avoid it. You cannot enter God's energy while secretly worshiping your pain. You cannot ask for freedom while using your wounds as proof that you are special. Pain deserves compassion, but it must not become a throne. Some people hold their suffering so tightly because they fear that without it, they will not know who they are. They have explained themselves through the wound for so long that healing feels like losing identity. They say they want peace, but they repeatedly return to the same memory. They say they want love, but they choose people who confirm abandonment. They say they want abundance, but they feel guilty when life becomes easier. They say they want change, but they protect every belief that keeps change impossible. Be honest with yourself now. Where have you made a home inside a story that was only meant to be a passage? Where have you confused familiarity with destiny? Where have you called a pattern my personality because you were afraid to imagine life without it? The mind will resist these questions because the mind survives through continuity. Even painful identity feels safer than emptiness. But the 0 point is that emptiness, and emptiness is not death. It is space. It is the place where the old self is no longer speaking, and the new self has not yet fully formed. This can feel like loneliness. It can feel like confusion. It can feel as if your motivation has disappeared. But perhaps the motivation that disappeared was built on proving yourself. Perhaps the relationships fading were connected to a version of you that no longer exists. Perhaps the old goals feel meaningless, because your soul is asking for a different direction. Do not mistake transition for failure. A seed does not look productive while breaking beneath the soil. A wound does not look beautiful while closing. A life being rearranged does not always look blessed from the outside. Sometimes divine order first appears as disruption. Sometimes the answer arrives disguised as an ending. Sometimes protection feels like rejection until enough time passes for you to see what was removed. The old mind will demand immediate explanation. It wants to know why, when, and how. It wants guarantees before surrender. But surrender with guarantees is not surrender. It is negotiation. Entering the 0 point means you stop requiring the future to explain itself before you take the next truthful step. You work with what is present. You do what can be done now. You care for your body. You tell the truth. You stop feeding what drains you. You create one clean boundary. You complete one neglected responsibility. You take one action, aligned with the person you are becoming. Then you release the need to control every consequence. This is where divine energy becomes practical. It is not only a feeling of light moving through the body. It is the courage to make decisions from alignment. It is the discipline to remain consistent after inspiration fades. It is the humility to correct yourself. It is the strength to apologize without collapsing into shame. It is the wisdom to leave what repeatedly harms you. It is the patience to build slowly. It is the willingness to become trustworthy to your own soul. Many people ask God for a new life while repeatedly breaking promises to themselves. They ask for confidence, but keep abandoning their own decisions. They ask for clarity, but flood their minds with constant noise. They ask for peace, but maintain access to people who profit from their confusion. They ask for transformation, but negotiate with every habit that must end. The 0 point does not condemn you for this. It simply reveals the contradiction, and once you see the contradiction, you become responsible for what happens next. Responsibility is not punishment, it is power returned. The moment you stop blaming every external force for your inner state, energy comes back to you. This does not erase what others did. It does not excuse betrayal, abuse, cruelty, or injustice. It means their actions no longer receive permanent ownership of your future. You acknowledge the wound, learn from it, protect yourself, seek support when needed, and refuse to carry their voice inside your identity forever. This is sacred rebellion. The world may expect you to remain the person your pain created. The people who benefited from your silence may resist your boundaries. The people who were comfortable with your self-doubt may call your growth arrogance. The people who only knew how to reach you through guilt may say you have changed. Let them say it. You did change. You were supposed to. The divine 0 point does not preserve the mask. It dissolves it. You may lose approval, but you gain self-respect. You may lose false connection, but you gain inner coherence. You may lose the ability to fit everywhere, but you gain the ability to belong to yourself. And when you belong to yourself, you stop entering rooms as a beggar. You stop asking, will they choose me? You begin asking, does this align with who I am becoming? You stop asking, how do I make them understand? You begin asking, am I willing to honor what I understand? You stop asking, what if I lose them? You begin asking, what am I losing by abandoning myself? These questions change the direction of your life because they return authority to the center. Now bring your attention to your body. Notice where you are holding tension: the jaw, the throat, the chest, the stomach, the shoulders. Do not force it to leave. Simply notice it. Your body has been carrying conversations your mouth never finished. It has been holding tears you did not feel safe enough to release. It has been preparing for dangers that already passed. Place your awareness there, without judgment. Breathe slowly, not to escape the sensation, but to tell the body, I am here now. This simple act matters. The body learns safety through repeated experience, not through intellectual promises. You can tell yourself 1,000 times that you are safe. But if you constantly live in mental emergency, the body will not believe you. The 0 point teaches safety through presence. Each conscious breath interrupts the ancient command to run. Each moment of grounded awareness shows the nervous system that this moment is not the past. You are not the helpless person you once were. You have choices now. You have language now. You have awareness now. You have the ability to leave, speak, pause, ask for help, and protect your energy. Feel that truth. Do not merely think it. Let your body receive it. You are here. You survived. The moment is different. The door is open. As the body softens, even slightly, something becomes available. Not a dramatic vision, not thunder from the sky. Something more useful. Space. In that space, the next step becomes visible. You may realize you need rest, not more pressure. You may realize you need action, not another month of overthinking. You may realize you need to forgive, not because what happened was acceptable, but because carrying it is poisoning the present. You may realize you need to stop waiting for an apology that may never come. You may realize you need to begin again without announcing it to anyone. This clarity is the language of the 0 point. It does not reveal your entire future. It gives you enough light for the next honest step. The mind hates this because it wants the whole map. But life is not asking you to see every mile. It is asking you to stop refusing the step already illuminated. How many times have you asked for a sign after the answer was already clear? How many times have you called it confusion when the truth was simply uncomfortable? How many times have you delayed because obedience to your inner knowing would require the death of a familiar identity? Do not shame yourself. See it. The moment you see the delay without defending it, the spell weakens. Your power returns through honesty. Sophia's revelation was not that humans must become divine. It was that beneath the layers of fear, conditioning, performance, and separation, the divine presence was never absent. You do not manufacture it. You uncover it. You do not chase it across the world. You become still enough to recognize it. You do not earn it through suffering. You stop believing that suffering makes you unworthy of it. The energy of God is not a prize for perfect people. It is the living intelligence moving through breath, awareness, compassion, truth, and creation. It is present in the moment you choose not to become cruel after being hurt. It is present when you create beauty after loss. It is present when you tell the truth with love. It is present when you protect the vulnerable. It is present when you refuse to let darkness reproduce itself through your behavior. This is what it means to enter God's energy. It does not remove your humanity. It makes your humanity conscious. You will still feel grief. You will still face uncertainty. You will still make mistakes. But you will no longer believe every dark moment means you have been abandoned. You will recognize that presence can remain even when answers do not. You will learn that faith is not constant emotional certainty. Faith is the decision to remain aligned when the feeling of certainty disappears. It is continuing to choose what is true, even when the old mind demands evidence. It is standing in the silence and refusing to fill it with self-destruction. Right now, imagine all the identities you have carried standing behind you. The rejected one, the angry one, the invisible one, the overachiever, the rescuer, the people-pleaser, the one who pretended not to care, the one who became hard because softness felt dangerous. Do not hate them. Each one tried to protect you. Thank them. Then tell them their work is complete. You do not need to erase your history. You need to stop forcing history to lead. Turn toward the unknown, without demanding that the old self understand it. Take one breath. As the person you are becoming, feel the difference. This person does not need to know everything. This person needs to remain present. This person does not chase every closed door. This person listens. This person does not confuse intensity with love. This person recognizes peace. This person does not bargain with disrespect. This person can be compassionate without becoming available for manipulation. This person can desire more without hating the present. This person can hold ambition without worshiping achievement. This person knows that being chosen by God does not mean being placed above others. It means becoming more responsible for the energy you bring into the world. The divine zero point is not an escape from your life. It is where you finally enter your life without the old distortion. From this center, your words become cleaner. Your choices become stronger. Your presence becomes harder to manipulate. You stop broadcasting desperation and begin embodying direction. People may not understand what changed, but they will feel it. Some will be drawn closer. Others will move away, because your confusion was the doorway through which they controlled you. Do not chase either response. Stay centered. The goal is not to become untouchable. The goal is to become ungoverned by every external reaction. Let praise pass through you without addiction. Let criticism pass through you without collapse. Receive wisdom. Correct what is true.